So I have a voice today, so I won't be fighting that. I don't know if y'all realize that when I went to go upload the recording last week, somehow the week before's magically appeared. So I was able to send that one, and I don't know how or why that happened. I couldn't make it happen again if I wanted to, but it's sent, so we're not missing one now. So we'll go ahead and get started with walking around, opening and closing our hands just to get our bodies warmed up. I'm going to turn on my heater for a minute to kind of cut that chill in the air. This room is, it's the room that gets the brunt of the cold air, like the air conditioner or the heater doesn't quite make it to this room for some reason. I can handle the heat, it's just the cold. So we're in talking about our hands not working, you know, open and closing. That's an exercise that we can do to help the function of our hands, especially if we have arthritis. Keeping them cramped up because they're hurting can actually work against us. So just keep that in mind. You don't have to do it at any certain speed or pace, just the fact that you're moving those joints. And that goes for just about everything that we do whenever we're doing exercise. We don't have to do it as fast as we can, but the movement is what's important. So it's been a while since it's been us three together. It's awesome to have us together. And as always, y'all let me know if y'all have any questions or need any clarifications on any of the movements that we do. So we'll go through our warm-ups from head to toe, and then we'll work on our basic 6 movements. So here we go. Do y'all have anything before we get started? I guess I should ask that.
Jennifer,
ma'am.
I just wanted to tell Val we've been thinking about her and praying for family.
Aww.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes. All right, so let's think about our bodies and how we're holding our bodies. Our feet are about shoulder width apart. Wherever we feel most stable, we can do it seated. But even if we're seated, we want to make sure we're in a stable stance with good posture. So we start with our neck by bringing our hands up towards our chin and chest, push away from our bodies, and then follow those hands all the way down, feeling a little stretch in the back of our neck. I typically inhale as I come up and then exhale whenever I'm ready to exhale that air. The other neck exercise starts out that same way. We drop one hand and follow the other as we look towards that shoulder, feeling a little stretch in that neck, coming back to the front and switching. Going side to side. Remember, we can practice the principles of our Tai Chi even in our warm-ups, thinking about slow, smooth, and continuous. Definitely thinking about that body structure where we have that upright posture. In so many ways, we're in control of how our bodies feel throughout the day. So if you're constantly holding your shoulders up, then you may find at the end of the day, your shoulders hurt really bad. But if you check yourself throughout the day, then you realize, oh, I need to relax those shoulders. I'm holding tension there. Same thing with our necks. If we're in that one position, not moving our necks around, we can tend to get stiff necks. Well, where we hold tension is where we potentially will have pain. So if we take control of that, then we can take control and let some of that pain go. So always keep those things in mind about how we're in control of some of it. All right, let's go to our shoulders. So we do small circles, roll those shoulders forward, and then roll those shoulders back. Turn to the side and show you. They're just little circles. You can like draw little circles on the sides of your legs. The rule is about the size of a quarter, but I've told y'all many times, I tend to be those dollar coins. But this really does feel like a massage you give yourself. And I always end with the roll to the back. I'll roll forward first and then roll to the back next. Now that big shoulder circle where we come up and press down. This is one where we can think about gentle resistance, like we're pushing through water. Definitely practicing that breathing. Inhale as you come up, exhale as you push down. Now for our spine, let's take our ball. Let's separate the heavens and the earth. Push down towards the ground and up towards the ceiling, stretching that spine. Come back down to our ball and switch. Stretching that spine. Back to the ball. Switch. Don't forget to breathe. On this one, I like to inhale as I gather my ball and then exhale as I push my hands out. That's the rhythm that works for me. You pick what works for you. Now back to our ball. Let's take it for a ride, side to side. The hand that's on top tells us the direction. Just above that thigh, switch hands, come back across. You find the rhythm of your breath. Slow, smooth, continuous. So those are our upper body exercises. They're the same whether we're seated or whether we're standing. It's when we get to our lower body that things change a little bit. So the first, we're going to go to our hip movement. Now, if you're seated, you'll simply put that heel forward and then come back to a seated position. And the leg that's stationary, you can push that into the floor. If we're standing, then we shift the weight to one leg. We put that heel out forward. Our hands go back. I pause in the middle and then take that foot back and to the side like a kickstand as I hold my body upright. On this one, I stay on one leg. You can do it that way, or you can switch side to side if that works better for you. Switch to the other leg. shift. I try to stay strict to those 3 times with our lower body because that leg does have to stay stationary, and that's a lot for our bodies to hold that weight. Check in with yourself and make sure you're breathing. Very good. So this next hip exercise, trying to get that camera angle just right. So the next one, I think it's important to do it both ways. It stretches that hip flexor in a different way, the seated version versus the standing. So the standing version, we shift the weight to one leg, keeping our bodies upright, and then we tap that leg out to the side. And then of course there's the hand movement where we stack our hands and push our hands to the direction of the weight shift. So here I have shift my weight, tap out, back, switch, shift, tap, back, switch. So there's that rhythm of that movement. So that movement right there, that's one of those for real balance helpers. So if you really need help getting your legs and your hips, knees strong enough to help keep you from falling, that right there is one of those magic movements. Even if you do it with a chair and completely skip that arm movement. So here, shifting the weight and tapping to the side, shift and tapping to the side. So also, yes, the tapping to the side is part of that movement, and it has its reasons for being important. It's a check that you've completely transferred the weight to the stationary leg, but that may be something that you're not comfortable doing. So if you just shift the weight to one leg and shift the weight to the other leg, that's when magic starts happening to build those muscles surrounding your hip joints. So don't think that you have to do the full movement as instructed to get benefits from it. And that's how you start making decisions on what you're comfortable with, and that's how you're going to start getting help. Because if you're scared to do a movement and you don't do it, then obviously it's not going to help you, right? So I want to give you options to be comfortable with what's going to help you, because that's what we're here for. We're here to help ourselves. So the seated version of that movement is when we lay that knee out to the side. And so if you feel that movement, you feel the stretch in your hip. And even though this is the seated version of that warm-up, it feels differently. So I feel like it's valid to do both. And it can help yourself 2 different ways. So here we have the weight shift, opposite of the knee that falls out. Bring that back up, shift the weight here. So the foot, the leg that's not doing anything, the direction of which my hands are going, that leg, that can be pushed into the floor. So that's an option. Or if you're not comfortable with that, don't do anything with it. But that's just a choice here, here. So you're in control of how much you push that foot into the floor. So I really like this. This one in particular, of all the seated warm-up movements. That really is my favorite one that I think is very beneficial. Our hip joints and then our knee joints, in that order, there are weight-bearing joints, and so those are the ones we really want to take care of. And those are the ones we want to try to keep strong. You know, if you have wear and tear, which is arthritis, in your joints, then sometimes that bone can be on bone. You know, you've heard that before. Oh, I have bone on bone in my knee. I have bone on bone in my hips. I've heard it on my back. You know, you have bone on bone, and that just sounds painful. I've never had bone on bone, but it sounds painful. So just imagine if the muscles that surround that joint, whatever that joint is, the muscles that surround that joint are weak, then that joint is going to collapse onto itself very easily because the muscles are weak. But let's say you work on getting those muscles strong, then that joint is held with the muscle, and there's less pressure on that bone on bone. There's less pressure on that joint. So think about it like that. That is how exercise in general, but what we do in Tai Chi class, that's how it can help the pain from arthritis, is by help relieving some of that pressure off of those joints, specifically weight-bearing joints, hip and knee joints. All right, so for our knee exercises, we have our loose fists. We have them down here by our hips. We're going to shift our weight to one leg, and we're going to tap that toe out and punch opposite hand. We turn to the side where I shift, lift, tap and punch, bring it back, shift, lift, tap and punch, back, shift, lift, tap and punch, shift, lift, tap and punch. One more on each side. Now we have the knee version where we step forward. So we shift, step, shift the weight to that front leg as I punch, keeping that back foot on the floor. Shift it back, feet side by side. Shift, step, shift and punch, shift it back, side by side. Shift, step, shift and punch, shift it back, side by side. Shift, step, shift and punch, shift back, side by side. Any questions about those knee movements? We're good on that?
Yeah, we're good. I'm good. That was really helpful with the explanation.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes we don't really understand why we do the things we do. Sometimes I think I'm an eternal 5-year-old that asks why. And so whenever I teach anything, that's what I'm asking myself. Why are we doing this? What good is this? And so I either ask somebody, research it, or use knowledge that I already have to answer that, because if there's an answer, it makes it meaningful and we're more likely to do it, right? So I know I've told y'all this about my back. When I was in a lot of pain, I was wearing ice packs and a back brace, and I went to the acupuncturist because I had knots. Well, I was not stretching properly, and ever since I did that, wow, I haven't had any more back pain. So sometimes it's just little things that we do that can help us, you know, keep us from pain if we figure out what's the right things to do. So That's for our knees. Now let's go to our ankles. I like to hold my hands in front of me. You can hold them to your side. You can hold your chair, whatever feels most comfortable. But we shift and then we do heel, toe. We're rocking that foot, heel, toe. That ankle joint is a weight-bearing joint and it doesn't get a lot of attention, but we give it to it here. Let's do that other foot, heel, toe. I hear so many good things about these ankle exercises, how it helps people. Now let's go big toe, little toe, or side to side. That one's a little more difficult to do. And then the other foot, little toe, big toe. Those help with circulation, but with that ankle joint too, keeping it flexible. It's all about the range of motion of our joints when we do these warm-up stretches. So that gets our bodies ready for our Tai Chi. So those are our warm-ups we do every time. So,
Jennifer,
ma'am,
I wanted that, when you do the knee exercise and you step forward, is the leg that you've left behind, is that straight or is that bent?
hold on, let me see. So we shift, step, shift. You know, when it comes to balance, when it comes to holding my weight, if I'm ever shifting my weight to one leg, I naturally squat a little bit, or I naturally bend that leg a little bit. What that does is it lowers my center of gravity and it keeps me from falling. So you think about a surfer, you know, when a surfer is on a surfboard, how they're like this, that's lowering their center of gravity, and that helps keep them from falling. So whenever I shift my weight, I naturally bend a little bit, and that helps me kind of sit into that versus standing up, trying to hold my weight on one leg, bending it, and that makes it a little easier. So whenever I step, yes, that foot is bent. When or the knee is bent. When I shift the weight to the front leg, shift, there is still that bend, shift it back, and feet side by side. I think if I were to step too far forward, there would be less of a bend in that back leg. And if you step too far forward, see, no bend there, but that's a lot harder to recover from. I'm really going to have to push off this front leg to get back weight to that back leg. So that's why it's important to keep that step small, shift, back. So I can see, are you seeing this leg right here being straight?
No, you've got a slight bend.
That slight bend. Okay, good. There is that slight bend there. I just wondered how it was, the angle was communicating to you on the other end. So yes, there's that soft bend helping me be stable as I shift the weight. There's a small step, shift the weight. And right now, I still have a little bit of weight on this leg. All of my weight is not on that front foot or front leg. I still keep a little bit here. Then I shift it back and then side by side. Anytime we're lifting a leg, there's no physical way that there's any weight on it. We have to completely transfer the weight in order to step. Shift, bring it back. So all the weight went here when I brought that foot back. A key to this is keeping that back foot flat on the floor as you shift the weight. Instead of lifting the heel, you see what my body did? When I lifted the heel, my whole body went forward. If my whole body goes forward, I'm trying to fall forward. Now, I may have enough muscle control that keeps me from falling forward, but that's what my body's doing. If gravity got a good hold of it, I would continue to fall forward. So keeping that back foot on the ground keeps my body upright, even though I'm shifting the weight forward. My body stays upright versus here. See the difference? Here.
Yes.
So I keep that foot flat and then bring it back. And that helps keep me grounded for that movement.
Thank you. That helped me to see it clearer there.
So sometimes we make mistakes or we don't realize we're making a mistake. So, you may not have realized that you were lifting that heel up off the floor even a little bit. So right now my body's upright, but my heel is off the floor. But if I put that heel on the floor, I'm more stable in my stance. Here.
Okay. My heel is coming up. I've just noticed that.
Yeah, there is the follow steps we've talked about in our advanced movements before. There, we step, shift, follow step. Well, I didn't realize that I was doing step, shift, follow step until my mom took pictures of me, and I was like, oh, I didn't even know my heel was up. In my mind, my heel was down. But sometimes we don't really, what we think is going on is different than what's actually happening. So taking the time to feel the grounding of keeping that heel down, feel what that feels like, then feel what it feels like to be wrong. Knowing what both feels like can help you recognize it in the moment. And that takes practice. It takes time and experience for you. When you do it wrong, then your body tells you, hey, this doesn't feel right, because you've practiced it the right way. So just take time to remind yourself what the right ways are. So that's a good piece of advice. Keeping that heel down, feeling the difference versus putting it up. What that feels like just in that one leg, even if your body's upright, is still wrong to have that heel up. Here, you're stable. You're holding that body weight. All right, are we ready for our Tai Chi Basic 6?
Yes.
I'm so glad to have my voice back. Last week, I was fighting my voice the whole time. All right, so the first one that we're going to do is for our commencement, right? We go commencement, and then we go open and close. Then we have single whip. Then we have waving hands and clouds. Open and close, single whip, waving hands and clouds, open and close it out. So those are our basic 6. I might have said 2 things twice. All right, but if you do it twice, the Tai Chi police is not going to come arrest us. It'll be just fine. So to break down our movements, well, let's just do it all. let's do all the basic 6 because we know it, and let it tell you where you need help. That doesn't mean you don't know it. It just means it tells you where you need to work on. So let's go through all of it first before we break it down. All right. So we're starting with that stable stance. Our weight's on both legs. We have good posture. And commence. Open and close. Single whip. Waving hands in clouds. Open and close. Single whip. Waving hands in clouds. Open and close. Close it out. What did that tell you? Anything?
That I got lost along the way.
You miss me talking through it?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll spoil you, and I'm glad to spoil you. That, every now and again, you just have to test yourself and go, oh, what do I know? What do I have a memory of? All right, so let's break it down. So I can turn around in the front on commencement because right and left doesn't matter. But we come up with our hands facing each other. We come down towards our bodies, up, out, and then back in. Remember, we talked last week about wrist movement. So we can add wrist movement by having our fingers pointed more down as we come up, and then fingers pointed more up as we come down towards our bodies, up, out. Remember, we still have that soft bend, and then we come back to center. Fingers are up. That gets us ready for open and close. Another thing to keep in mind is our armpits. We want to keep some space in our armpits, and that's all about energy flow. So it's not a big gaping, armpit space, but it's just enough to where our arms aren't collapsed and lazy on our bodies. It's just a slight control of our arms outside of our where they're not resting on our sides. Does that make sense? If it doesn't make sense when I say it, experience it. So have your hands out, collapsed, and then have your hands out with your armpits open. I even felt my posture get a little bit better whenever I opened my armpits up a little bit. So I'm here, I'm collapsed, and then I'm here with my armpits open. So are y'all feeling the difference? Here, here. It's like you're in control of your body. You're saying, I'm here versus, what are we doing first? It's that control over that movement. There's almost a resistance to gravity that we experience when we have that. That helps that energy flow. So remember, Dr. Lamb likes to do the ball thing where we show in our pretty little ball. Oh, it's so pretty. We want somebody to play with it, but nobody wants it. So we bring it back to ourselves and we think, oh, let's give them one more chance. So we put that ball back out there for them to see. And then they decide they don't want to play with it. So we bring our ball back. So that's one way people remember. Commencement is showing off that ball. They don't want to play with it, but you want to give them one more chance to see how pretty it is, and then you bring it back.
And when you're finished, when you bring it back, do your hands come right here? Like,
Yeah,
okay.
your fingers are pointed straight up because we're getting ready to do open,
Open and close.
So that's I like the wrist movement of commencement because it just adds a little extra, that extra movement, and that movement helps protect your wrist. It's a joint you can get arthritis in easily. So if you're able to move it, then why not? And then you see the fingers are controlled but loose too. So I'm not tight, I'm not straining the muscles in my hands, but they're open as if I were really holding a ball. So that's our commencement arm movement. The footwork is a step forward. Check the time, 10:39. Okay, so the footwork is a shift to the right, a step left, shift left, and then I bring that right foot forward. So we start off the movement with weight on both legs. Then we shift the weight to that right foot, step left, heel toe, shift left, and then bring that right foot forward. So there's that weight shift that we covet so much to help with the strength of our legs. Shifting that weight right off the bat. Shift right, step left, shift left, bring the right foot forward. And all of that step is really, really small, just like when we do that knee warm up. So we shift, there's that small step, shift, and then bring the right foot forward. So really small steps. We don't do anything big in Tai Chi. Everything is really small. Shift here. So you may be thinking, she pulled her heel up, and when we did that warm-up stretch, she said keep that heel down. Well, the reason why you may see that heel come up is because I'm going places. Shift, step, shift, bring it forward. That's an attempt to the slow, smooth, and continuous of the movement. Now, if you want to wait to bring the heel up, that's right too. So shift, step, my heel stays down as I shift, then I bring that weight forward. That's what's happening. Shifting the weight to that left foot and then moving your right foot forward. But whenever you're thinking slow, smooth, and continuous, you may see something that went against the knee movement. Shift and bring the heel forward, which I just stepped with the wrong foot. All right, any questions about that? Step forward.
No.
So we have shift right, step left, shift left, bring the right foot forward. So that's the footwork of commencement. Putting our hands and feet together our hand movement goes with the weight shift. So nothing's happening when my hands come up. It's when my hands go down, that's when I shift the weight to that right leg. So I come up, down, shift the weight. Okay. So come up, down, shift the weight. To me, that makes sense. When I come down, I shift down. Shift down. When I shift to that front leg, that's when my hands go out. So I'm shifting forward, hands go forward. That's what I want y'all to experience, is the movement and the weight shift that happens at the same time. Shift, hands go down, step, shift, hands go out. Bring that foot forward, hands come back. So let's put those together. We have hands come up, shift down to that left or right foot, step left, bring those hands up, shift left as those hands go out, bring the right foot forward, hands come back, open and close.
Do that again, because I missed the shift.
Okay, so we have right now weights on both legs.
Right.
We bring those hands up, shift right as those hands go down. Step left, bring those hands up.
Right.
All right, you want to go back to the beginning?
Now I got it now.
Okay. So now we're going to shift the weight to that left foot as our hands go out. Shift. Bring that right foot forward. Now our hands come back.
Okay.
All right, let's just keep doing that. So we have weight on both legs. Bring those hands up. Now we're getting ready to bring those hands down while we shift to that right foot. So down, shift right. Step left, bring those hands in and up our bodies. Now let's shift left as our hands go out. Shift left, bring the right foot forward, hands come back.
Okay.
All right, so let me turn to the side. All right, we have our weight on both legs. Our hands come up. Our hands are getting ready to go down as we shift the weight to that right foot. Down, shift the weight. Now I'm going to step left. Now I bring my hands in and up. Now I'm going to shift the weight left as my hands go out. Shift. Now I'm going to bring the right foot forward. And then my hands come back.
Okay.
All right, let's do that again. I'll stay to the side a couple of times and I'll turn back around. Again, weights on both legs as we bring our hands up. Now I'm going to shift right as my hands go down. Shift. I'm going to step left. Bring those hands in and up. Now I'm going to shift left as those hands go out. Shift. Bring the right foot forward and my hands come back. So that's the chopped up version of commencement where we do one thing, then do the other. Do another thing, do another. So let's keep practicing that with our words. Weights on both legs. Our hands come up. Our hands go down as we shift right. Step left, bring those hands in and up. Shift left as those hands go out. Right foot forward, hands come back. Let's just do our open and close. Because after that, we need a good breath. All right, let's do it again. And weights on both legs. And commence. Up, down, shift right. Step left, bring those hands up. Shift left as those hands go out. Bring that right foot forward, hands come back, open and close. Okay, let's do it again. And commence, up, down, shift right. Step left, bring those hands up. Shift left as those hands go out. Bring the right foot forward, hands come back, open and close. So I hope you're experiencing the weight shift with the down movement of the hands. The weight shift of the out movement of the hands. That final movement where you bring your hands back, to me, that feels like, all right, let's pull it together and breathe. That's what it feels like to me whenever I go, okay, pull it together, breathe. So we have commence, up, down, shift that way. Step left, bring those hands up. Shift left as those hands go out. Right foot forward, bring those hands back, open and close.
Okay.
And again, commence, up, down and shift. Step, bring those hands up. Shift and out. Right foot forward, hands back, open and close. And again, commence, up, down. Step, bring those hands up. Shift and out. Right foot forward, hands come back, open and close.
Jennifer,
Ma'am?
is your right foot even with your left when you're open and close?
It should be.
Okay, that's what I was gonna ask. It's even with your left. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. There's
I
some, there's
have a tendency to be
now if one is a little farther up than the other one, that's not a problem.
okay. Mine is doing that. I didn't know why.
But it's I think sometimes it's just the natural way we stand. I know sometimes I can say, okay, my feet are side by side. It feels like they're side by side. And I look down and, well, I'll be dogged this time, they are side by side. But sometimes that right foot will just be a little bit further up than the other. And I mean, we're talking about like centimeters. So we're not talking about a whole lot. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it's definitely not a staggered stance. So a staggered stance is what we do when we take that step forward, where one foot is definitely up further than the other. Typically, your one heel lines up with the toe of the other foot. That's a staggered stance, and that's a very stable stance. So if you're ever out and about and you're having to stand for a longer period of time, yes, you have this stance where your feet are shoulder width apart. That's very stable. But then switch it up to a staggered stance. That's more stable.
Okay,
Switch it up here and hold your weight here. Your weight's on both legs. Same thing, you can switch. That's a staggered stance. So those are more stable stances to be in whenever you're out in public and you're having to stand for a longer period of time. Open up those hips, feet are side by side, but then you open up those hips a little more with a staggered stance, and that's more stable. So whichever one may feel stronger than the other, and you might switch it up to give your legs a break, but that's what's called a staggered stance. I know I went way beyond your question, but
that's good to know.
there's an exercise in my bingo size class that includes a staggered stance, and shifting weight in a staggered stance, just like we do in our knee exercise, shifting that weight and shifting that weight. That's an exercise that you can do. Anytime you're shifting weight, you're helping build muscle that surround those hips and knees and ankles. So you think all the which ways you can shift weight, and you're helping yourself. Even if you don't remember everything that we do, even if you don't remember it as commencement, if you're taking steps forward and slowly shifting weights, you're doing something good for yourself. So I'm shifting, I'm stepping heel toe, I'm shifting, I'm bringing that foot forward. I'm shift, step. This is called Tai Chi walking. Shift. I can even skip the step in the middle and just do step, shift, step, shift. That's Tai Chi walking, where you're taking the time to shift the weight. Now you can step, shift, pause in the middle, shift, or step, shift, pause in the middle, step, shift. So when I pause in the middle, I'm not adding weight to that foot. Unless you need a break, which is possible, you need a break, you don't have to just pause in the middle and then get ready to take that step. If you're not wanting to do Tai Chi walking where you step, shift, pause, then step, that gives you a little bit different of an experience. You can do a different kind of Tai Chi walking with that follow step I was telling you, where you do step, shift, follow step. You can step back, shift, follow step. So I'm stepping, shifting, follow step. Stepping, shifting, follow step. That one's hard to do holding a chair because you're moving. And a moving chair is not a stable chair. So
Watch your time.
yes, ma'am. I know we're here to learn Tai Chi. I will teach you Tai Chi all the day long. But what I really want you to know is the actual movement that will help you.
Yes.
So if you don't know to call it commencement, if you don't know to call it waving hands in clouds, that is not what's important to me. It may be important to Dr. Lamb, who wrote the program, but he's not teaching this class. I am. Oh, Dr. Lamb, if you're watching, you're a wonderful, wonderful man. No, really, that's really my goal, is to give you tools that actually help you. And you may not have problems with falls now. That's what we're trying to prevent. I don't have a problem with balance. I can stand here like a flamingo for, a long time. I don't have problems with balance. I don't want problems with balance. So I'm going to keep doing these things that help me. So we don't want to wait until we have a problem to fix the problem. We want to do what we can to maintain it going to that point. So practice the weight shifting any which way you can in the next week, and then we'll come back together and work more on that commencement, work more with our waving hands and clouds, with our movements, but just these base movements. That's what I want you to practice, okay?
Okay.
All right, so let's cool down by beating our thighs, breaking up lactic acid. And y'all know, anytime y'all need me, y'all are welcome to email, call. I have done extra Zoom meetings. My Fridays are usually pretty free if you want to jump on Zoom. Like, don't think you're bothering me. You're not. It gets me out of my office, and this is what I like to do. I don't like to be in that office, making up stuff. So I like to do real work that helps people. All right, so let's gather tension. We don't like that. That does not feel good. Let it go. Gather and release. I like to hear that breathing and release. Inhale and exhale at your own pace. And then we always end with our fist. That's our strength. Our fingers up side by side. That's our friendship. Our thumb bent in is our humility. So strength, friendship, and humility. And in mutual respect, we say namaste.
Namaste.
So thank y'all. Appreciate, again, y'all coming at a different time. So we can still do our Tai Chi, and I can go be senior hunger lady. But it'll probably be after lunch when I can upload this and send it on. But as always, just let me know what you need from me, okay? And we'll plan on
Okay.
10. I'll jump on next week at 10, but we'll plan on starting class at 10:30, same time.
Okay.
Thank you again. Wonderful
Thank you.
lesson.
Y'all have a great day.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.